Much
You're
for
welcome.
being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know that
Happy Monday.
yeah,
Happy
happy
Monday.
Monday. What a great way to go into the week. And I know you have some thoughts just on how your bio always says you're the only female chef with 3 Michelin stars, and I just feel like it feels like an elephant in the room for me to even swipe over that. So
I
what
know.
what comes up for you when you hear that and you keep walking on to different stages?
Well, I think what come up for me is it took a long way to be not just me. I mean, other women have been recognized in the past in France and all that, but it seems it's 2020, 2018, and it felt as it was a long way, but I think I use I use my platform to be the change that I want to be for the world, and hopefully I'm here also for young women,
Mhm.
and it's not just about. I don't like the word female. I'm a chef,
Yeah.
It's so it's a little bit tricky, but you know what? It's been really good, and I hope that people can look up to us, and especially the youngsters, especially my young 6 years old. I have two girls, so
Oh, beautiful.
yeah, Charlotte and Olivia. And hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
You're like, speaking of.
Yes. Um, so no, it's been really good. The world is changing, but it's changing slowly but surely.
Mhm.
And it's when I look at me as a woman, it's not that long ago that we had the right to vote. So it's getting there. I mean, as a woman too, you must see, there is a lot of changes that's happening. But I'm here and I keep pushing, and it's for I just want to let know that everyone can do, especially a young girl, you can do anything you want in life.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
be confident and know yourself, and go after, what you want to. Even president of a country, you can do it.
Yeah. It's like not everybody grew up with that mindset. And I think it's so beautiful. You have 2 kids at a young age where they are growing up around that. And I
Yeah.
know I was talking to your team and they were saying that you have a really good mindset about 2020. And I wanted to just start there because I think a lot of people right now, even if they're dreamers, especially me, I'm such a dreamer, it can sometimes feel like you spend too many hours in the house and you just start to get in your own head. You feel old grief that comes up. Like, I know you lost your dad. And so I want to ask you about like 2020 and how to keep a good mindset, or what do you see for 2020 as in the positive and the silver linings?
We almost halfway. Well, so I see a lot,
Right.
especially with the young generation. I'm someone that always is I'm very curious, and I want people to be curious in this world, even if we are, we grow. Can we call us a growing up person?
Yeah.
Um, Always have to look for what's happening in our community, but outside of the community also, to be more in touch of what's going on. It's I have to tell you, during the do you remember the gun violence protest about 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And when I watch and listen that young generation
Hmm.
that were so um, um, aware, and their voice were so beautiful. I knew at that moment that yes, the youngster gonna take over. It's
Hmm.
gonna take a few years, but it's gonna take over. With the climate change, with the gun violence now, the pandemic, the Black Lives Matter, I mean everything. Is so those youngster. I hang out with some 19 years old sometime, and when you speak to them, they are so inclusive, and they want a beautiful world, and they're aware about what's going on right now, and they say, no, we don't want to live like this. You guys have a responsibility to help us to get there, but we have a voice, and we will change the way it is. So um, 2020, it's halfway, but I'm gonna tell you, I feel that America is gonna be changing, hopefully in a great way. So I think it's changing a lot.
I
I don't want to be political,
yeah,
but um, the old way we used to do things, the instant gratification, the greediness is over.
yes,
The
yeah.
world, it's over.
And
It's
when you look at history, it's like protesting is historically effective and has created so much change. And I think also you look at things like 9/11, the world was never the same, but in some ways it's better. And so it sounds like you're very much of the thought that this is serving us, and that the pain or the struggle, while it is heartbreaking, there's always a silver lining in the
uh,
collective.
yes, always a silver line, but also what the history have taught us is it takes a long time sometimes. When you look at, let's say, Black Lives Matter, it's long time ago. Even in the 60s with Martin Luther King and that uprise, it was a movement, but not really a movement. It was a movement, but it was not there. So what's happening is you have a wave that come in and out and come in, and this time the wave crushed. It crushed on the shore and kind of like blow up. And now it's for us to really all those broken pieces. We need to put some beautiful pieces out there. So it's much needed.
Yeah.
It's much needed on a lot of way. I think technology, in a way, it's great, but it's also negative in a way, because it kind of put people in their own bubble
Mhm.
and open up with not awareness about the world anymore. So there is climate change, there is a lot of inequality in the world. um, um, what was 100 years ago and what it is now. Yes, technology is amazing, but we have to look at the consequences that's happening. So I think we have to take time to reflect
Mhm.
and to take action now. It's not about talking about it anymore. We have to take action. There's a lot of things that we can do, and to better the world for the young generation, is like, I want to leave my girls, a beautiful planet. I want to leave my girls in a world that, I say that we are not free until everyone is free.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
so you have to that let it things for a second. Not just about the Black Lives Matter, but there's a lot of inequality in this world. Until everyone is free, the planet's not going to be free. So
Yeah.
let's look at this and say, yes, of course, freedom is important. So it's not just about our own freedom, but I think it's about the others also. And even if things it's not happening in our country, which is my country right now is United States, I want to look also, and I want to be curious and be involved in other country where things are not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you talk about the youth, and it's I have a brother who's soon to be son, who he's getting married, and she has a son, and he's 17, 16, 17, 18, like in high school, junior year. And the thought I was having when I saw him on Father's Day yesterday was, I'm so sorry that, in my head, that you're going through this time. But when I'm listening to you, I'm thinking this time is so important. And my hope would be that it creates grit and a positive mindset, and that parents are having these conversations in their home about the importance of this time as well, which is so what I hear you doing. And one thing that also is coming up as I'm listening to you is this idea of pivoting, because you're talking about the youth. There's so many young entrepreneurs. I read somewhere the average age of a billion-dollar CEO right now around 31 years old. There is a founder.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are some incredible high impact young people who've had their head down working in their 20s to create something of that nature by their 30s. And I know for you, you shifted at Atelier Cran very quickly at the beginning of COVID. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are probably watching you now and wondering, how do we feel positive about the pivot, or how do we even get into the mindset that we should pivot, especially because there's really no telling how long this
Right.
period will last. And then there's a new normal. How many resources do we put into changing and pivoting? So do you have any, can you first of all just share a little bit about what you've done to pivot? Because I think it's brilliant. And then also any advice for people who are trying to get into that mindset?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pandemic was, I think, a blow for a lot of people. But honestly, it's not new. It's been around, and I think we've been sleeping a little bit. So I think it was. I feel that now we have an incredible opportunity to do better.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I remember during the giving you some speech, I was sitting in the office with my team, and having 3 restaurants, having close to 70 to 100 people in the company, which is a small company, and the first things that we talk about is like, okay, who are we? We're going to close everything. We're probably going to lose a lot of revenue, but at the end of the day, we are an industry that is out there to at the service of people. So my first thing is like, okay, how are we going to make food for people, for the community, for the medical community, for the elderly, for the children, which we're gonna not go to school. And so that was in the mind. It was just like almost a mind of survival.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously I had to lay off few people, which was kind of heartbreaking, but in the way is it helped us to reflect and rethink about what to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been an advocate for many years for climate change and for no plastic, and for people to be able to be conscious and thoughtful about the way they eat, the way they buy food. Teaching people that eating and buying is an act of activism. When you spend your money somewhere, you need to know where the money goes, not just with food, but with everything that we do in life. And I think there is a lot of CEO, young CEO and founder that, yeah, I'm going to be funding this company, but my money is going to go also to things that are right for the world, which is pivoting also in the tech industry. It's not about making money, but trying to also do something that is valuable for the future of the world, which is great, and the environment. So it's the same thing with my industry, the way that I feel that it's difficult. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
It's really impactful listening to you because I can hear how much you feel that. You feel where your money is going. And I don't think that's something often talked about. I used to work in national security before my career now. And I met an amazing woman in counterterrorism at the State Department. And she wrote a book now called Buy the Change You Wish to See. And it's all of the data on how you can actually buy your way, and we can buy our way collectively
right.
in the better world. And so it makes so much sense. And I also heard you say something for entrepreneurs who are listening, or even side hustlers that are listening, was you asked yourself, what is the pain that other people are going through right now as it relates to my business, that where my business can serve? So instead of saying, what do I want to do and how do I want to show up in this, saying, what does everybody need right now? Where are people suffering right now? Because that makes business a lot easier to say, okay, how can I meet them through my business?
Yeah, and I think I was having a conversation the other day, and they were asking me how do you get out of it, and I say, the first thing I say is the way that we gonna rebuild. We have to rebuild with the community around us,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we are looking at the all in and out, and how can we help others to rebuild also. Because when you're part of this rebuilding together as a collective, then you get the community so much stronger, and then when our own community is stronger, then you can go to other community outside of the city or the state, and then you can build a world that is built on community. And when things when you do that, you get involved everyone and you have everyone at the table
Mhm.
instead of being just a selfish, person. It's like, oh, I don't care about that. I'm going to do my own thing. No, that doesn't work like that anymore. For the industry, I feel that I think when people are going to come and eat at a restaurant, they're gonna ask what is the owner or the chef doing, what is their value, what
Mhm.
is doing for their own community, where the food come from. You
Mhm.
know what? I want to go to this one because they have great values. Oh, I don't want to go to this restaurant anymore because they don't care about anything. So I think it's shifting. I feel that it's going to be shifting. I've we've been a big for the last. I mean, I spent 30 years of my life to just go out there and get my little voice out there. But now I think the voice is getting bigger. So this
Yeah.
is great. I launched 2 years ago this. It's called a wake up call,
Mhm.
San Francisco, and it was about the environment and also as human, how can we help each other to educate also each other about what's going on, because we live in a world that is so fast paced. You do this, you go to a place, it's like, oh, I wanted that, I want that, and then you don't think anymore.
Mhm.
um, we've been working for the last 2 years to be the first culinary company to be all plastic free.
Mhm.
And then, so I'm going to become an ambassador, I think, in the next few months. And what are we going to do with the company? We're going to go to obviously California first and to other states to teach, the restaurant business to how to change the way they do things in a better way. It's not easy, but you know, when you think about it, like people that create and invent things.
Yeah.
Plastic for everyone was a great invention at the beginning, okay? Great invention. But what happened, no one was thinking about the consequences of
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
A few years later, so I think what I will say to people, when you have an idea and when you have an idea that is great and is an innovation, you also have to think about the consequences of it.
Yes. Yeah,
So
100%. And it's interesting. I was reading, I don't know if you're familiar with medical medium books, but the medical medium, he talks about healing through food. And one of the things I always remembered he says is he calls right now the quickening, that right now everything is just quicker. And that's the society that we live in, between Uber and all of these different technological and innovations.
right,
And creativity is so huge right now. And I understand that an idea is only worth so much if it's not executed on and executed well.
right.
But it seems like you are just this fountain of creativity, and just being around you, like I can feel your essence. I'm curious for anybody listening, what do you think it is that keeps you so creative, and alive and vibrant?
I think very young, extremely young, I was always very curious, and my dad helped me to foster that curiosity. And he always, we had, few discussion, and he said, Dom, you're going to evolve, you're going to become an adult, and you're going to, and never make yourself comfortable where you are.
Mhm.
Always know that there's other things that you need to know and need to learn. So I've been always curious about things, and I think curiosity came and creativity came from that too. I have a lot of creative thought in my head,
Yeah.
and sometimes I want the tech company to come, like those amazing people that come and help me to foster and to create what I have in my head. It's
Yeah.
so crazy. But I think it's important to be creative because it allow you to also rethink about what you have done, but also find a new way and a better way of new things. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna be, when I'm gonna turn 99, I'm probably gonna be creative still. So.
100%. You and me, it's interesting. As a coach, I've gotten a lot of clients who've asked me, like, how do I access creativity? And I found that if from 9 to 5 you're feeling really uninspired, of course, it's really challenging from 5 to 9 to feel alive all of a sudden. We're not these little switches that can just turn on, but I always recommend asking yourself, like, what are you inspired by? What makes you come alive? And can you do a little bit of that outside of work? Because usually that will leak into your being and shift your ideas and your mindset. So,
Right.
and
What
you
what
talk,
what what
yeah,
what, what is lighting you up?
yes,
Yes, what it makes you like just want to dance. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. And
exactly.
everybody has it.
That's
Everyone
the
has
thing.
it. Yes.
Yeah, it's like everybody comes with batteries included onto this planet. And it's so funny because people seem to think like if their switch is off, that they have to go find purpose through their job. And I heard you say, and I love that you said this, because I have a book that I wrote as well, and it's coming out next year. And I just,
Congratulations.
thank you. You understand the feeling of it, but it's,
Amazing.
I talk about, it's a career book, and my biggest principle is your career is a vehicle. And so hearing you say that cooking is a vehicle for you, I wanted to ask a little bit about life purpose and what you mean by that, and any recommendations you have for other people to connect to that sense of purpose.
Yeah, I mean, yes, cooking is a very cool. So I think the why I don't know why I'm thinking this way, but you know, so I didn't go through the normal way of going through to be a chef. I've never
Yeah,
attended, cooking
I have
school.
questions about that too.
I decided to have a bachelor in economy, and I attended l'Académie Commerciale Internationale of Paris, which is international business school. And but food was always something that I was related to, not just eating, but I just looking at just things that growing. And I'm like, I remember when I ate my tomato the first time, it's like looking at a tomato but looking at the vine and looking at where that things come from, and it's come from the soil. And then you realize that you're communing with nature. So food is like art, like for me, it's like it's a language. It's a way to express yourself. It's also with food, which is a little bit more maybe political than food is politic.
Yeah.
Food is the core of the society.
Mhm.
If the soul of the society, if there is no food, there is no society. Through food, you can learn about the history of a country. You can learn about the culture. You can also, food can be a weapon. It could be a weapon that it's a positive one, but it's also be a negative one. We all know that through the history, when a king or whoever was in charge of the country wanted to suppress the people of the country, they were taking the food away.
Mhm.
They wanted them to be okay. They just give them a little bit of food back, and it's still happening today, um, even in America.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be a little bit, I'm going to be maybe moving and making people think, but think about the food industry, the factory and the chain, the fast food industry.
Mhm.
Okay. So the fast food industry, um, so look at America. Up to the 1960s, the best food in America was the African American food.
Mhm.
Best food. Farm to table, it was cooked, it was delicious. In the 1960s, after the 1950, the industrialization of food, those industry like McDonald's, Burger King, all those fast food industry went to the small business loan.
Mhm.
And they say, give us a lot of money. We're going to go to those community, which is the African American community, which is the Latino community, and we're going to bring us. So maybe we can elevate, those community. But what they did, they implement, those fast food there. They killed the culture
Mhm.
of the food culture that was there. And look what's happening right now.
Mhm.
There is no great food in those communities. It's all about fast food. There is a medical problem. This is the community that has been the most affected by COVID.
Mhm.
it has to do with food and the things that you're eating. So it's very political and it's very driving sometimes, perhaps make money and also suppressing community and culture. I
Mhm.
I mean, I'm going to say the truth, you know. So food for me is it's we have so much work to do. So yes, I do have 3 restaurants, and for me, it's kind of a platform to like, okay, what I want to do next. You know, I'm working a lot with different lawmakers right now
Mhm.
to try to change the food system laws. I educate people. You know, we have a farm also in Sonoma, and I want to. I'm trying to educate people to um, bring awareness to the importance of cultivating food that is food, not crap. So
Mhm.
that's another things, you know, and it's you know I don't know it's true. The restaurant is a vehicle for me to do that, but I think I have so much more work to do, and I'm trying to talk to also to be involved with some tech company. I'm trying to be involved with there's a great tech company that's called Memphis Meat,
Mhm.
and um, what they're doing is literally they recreating, you know, because we're not going to get rid of meat, but what we can get rid of is factory farming,
Mm.
something that is important to do. And I want people to understand that factory farming is not, it's terrible, and it's not a good way to, you know, we're talking about pandemic, you know, let's talk about, you know, those factory farming that what I created through the years, a lot of problem, you know. I mean, I don't want to put any food that is come from those farming community, you know, factory farming community. So what is great about this company, what I love is to they're taking cell out of animal without hurting them, and they're recreating a cell that can recreate meat and all that, so without killing, you know, anyone. It's pretty cool. So I'm interested in that, you know, because
Wow.
I understand that you know, I believe that the world needs to be balanced. I
Mhm.
don't, you know, going to the extremisms, just being a vegan planet. I don't know about that. I'm not. I think we can find
A middle
we
ground.
a middle ground. Yes,
Yes.
but in a way of finding this middle ground, we have to be willing to be uncomfortable of the way that we are walking through this life every day, uncomfortable of perhaps sometime of thinking a little bit more where the money is going to go when we're buying food,
Mhm.
and understanding where the food comes from. So if we can get to that place and doing a little bit of work every day, I think it will be great, you know. And by doing this, we gonna make a change, even if the change is tiny. If everyone doing this, I think it's gonna be great. The same things, you know, with vegetable, you know, don't support and factory farming either. Don't support big farming community that's are using GMO. Support your small farmers. Go to the farmer markets, you know, start to do that a little bit more, you
Yeah,
know.
it's beautiful. And it's so interesting because I was going to ask you what keeps you motivated, because I know for so many people, there's a sense of like, there's collective inspiration that I'm seeing, and huge upheaval. I'm also seeing collective exhaustion
Yeah.
and fear. And I was going to ask you how you keep going and you don't procrastinate, but it sounds like you just have this sense of purpose that fuels you. And whenever I see a client, for example, who's low on energy, I just think, okay, this isn't might not be a food issue or an energy issue. This might be a purpose issue, and they don't feel motivated. But are there any tips you have for staying motivated? And anybody who's listening, you guys can submit your questions. But I saw a really fun question. They said, "Why come to the United States in the first place?" So first, wanted to ask you about motivation. Then I wanted to see if you had any thoughts on what
Well,
inspired you to
um,
come.
I'm going to tell you right now that one of the greatest motivation that I have is to look at a child and see a smile on their face.
Yeah.
And so that's a great motivation, and knowing that I'm responsible to be a part of giving them a better world. So that's really my motivation. Why United States? You know, when I was when I was younger, I was obsessed with Starkey and Hutch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that TV show.
Mm-hmm.
I was obsessed with that. And you know, I always thought that, you know, I love watching shows about America and United States and, you know, like California and all that. Why? I mean, it's very simple. I love my country, which is France. I really love my country. I love the people of France. And just the way that everyday life, what's happening out there, we're not making light up. It
Mm-hmm.
was not giving me a sense of place. And I think um, you know, the bureaucracy of that country was really weighing me down. And I'm like, it was not a space of creativity and going out there. And so what I did, I took the best of France within me. And then I came to a country that, especially San Francisco, was, you know, California was kind of an open canvas. You know, you could, you know, if you were someone that were creative and wanted, you know, had the confidence and wanted to go do something, it was very much opening up for you. Whatever you want to do it. You know,
Opportunity.
opportunity were there.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
you used it. I remember watching. So anybody who's listening to us, I hope they watch your on season 2 of Chef's Table. But I love that you walked up to a chef, you know, over at Star Restaurant, and basically said to him, "I want to work for you." And you hadn't gone to cooking school, so to walk up to a chef. And it's interesting because I had interviewed Ryan Serhant from Million Dollar Listing in New York, who on sales last week, I think it was. And I said, how do you know somebody's going to be great at sales? Or how do you know there's somebody that you want to hire? And he said, they're not afraid to come up to somebody and say hello. And that's what you showed up with in the United States without this background. So I know a lot of people are in the limited belief that they cannot have something because they don't have the experience.
Right.
Whereas at any given moment, somebody without the experience is doing what they want to do just because they thought they could. So what was it, and how can somebody create that sense of confidence in themselves to ask for what they want and drop the narrative in their head that they need some sort of qualification out there that they might not really need?
Right. Well, once again, my dad.
Yeah, I gotta love him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta love him. You know, it taught me at a very young age how to be confident, to find your own confidence and confident in life, and always, you know, go for something that you feel that you want to do, even if you don't know it, because you know you can learn. So it's about not being afraid of. Well, you know, the thing is, I feel that sometimes we are in a world where, you know, your parents or the world telling you have to go to school, you got to study that, you got to have all those things to make sure you have before you do this and all that. But at the end of the day, school is great, but you don't have to do that to do the things that you want to do. You know, you just got to do it, but also have humility within yourself, because you know that there is a lot of things you need to learn. You know, going up to Jeremiah Tower in the 90s and saying to him, I want to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to cooking school. I love cooking. I'm French. And that food is about, you know, it's about, you know, it's all about our culture. But I knew also that I didn't have the technique, and I didn't have the understanding how a restaurant or how cooking in a restaurant means. But I was um, um, humbled enough to know that within myself,
Mm-hmm.
and telling him is like, I do anything and I want to learn anything. Everything that you can teach me, I want to learn. And I think when you say that to someone, suddenly they're just like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. And they see the want and the dedication that that person wants. And that's, I'm going to tell you, that's what I do when I hire people.
I was going to ask you about hiring because you have an amazing chef at Atelier Cren. It sounds like you guys have a great bond. So is this what you're looking for when you're hiring talent? Is just that hungriness to learn?
that hungriness to learn, but also I usually take the resume and I throw the resume out. It's
Great.
and I looked at them and I asked them about their values, asked them how they roll in the world, how asked them about what they weakness, their strength. I asked them really how they want to become, you know. And is I don't care who you work for, you know. I don't care if you work for Thomas Keller or René Rosensky or Alain Ducasse, all those big names. I don't really care. What I care about is who you are inside and what is how hungry you are
Mhm.
inside for this,
Pun intended for
Yeah,
Chef John. Well, and I can't let you go without even asking you. I know it's Pride Month. I know you're engaged,
I
uh,
know.
which is beautiful. I know. Congratulations, félicitations.
Yeah.
um,
She's in New York now. Hi.
oh, hopefully she's watching. And I guess I want to ask, you had such an amazing dad, and not everybody has that, especially I know with Father's Day just being yesterday, probably thought of him being in America at least. Um, but what wisdom do you have as someone who's celebrating Pride this month and engaged this amazing woman, for someone around accepting themselves? Because we have come so far, but there is still such a lack of self-acceptance. There's so much shame and people stepping into who they are, owning it without any questions. What do you have to share with that, especially as you're raising two little girls and teaching them to own who they are?
Well, I mean, I thank you for the question, and there is still a lot of struggle that we need to overcome,
Yep.
and also for a long time, I was thinking about, I walking through life, and I'm falling in love with another human being, and I've never wanted to struggle about, people looking at me of like, oh, what now, you gay? But I thought, I just like, I want to, I own myself, I am so proud of who I am. And for a long time, we didn't have any point of reference, and now there is much more, and we hear, and I mean, even like I was watching this incredible documentary, and I will, on the Pride Month, I want people to look at, obviously to watch. It's called Disclosure, and
Disclosure.
it's a documentary on Netflix, and it's mostly about the life of being a drag queen,
Mhm.
and it's very interesting because it touch all the layers of it, and it's also speaking about in the media, we never been a queer or drag queen and all the LGBT and more community is never been shown in kind of the in a beautiful and truthful light. We've always been making fun of when you think about it. So it's the time. It's 2020. We are here, and I would say if anyone that is listening has any struggle, first of all, I'm here. I'm here. If they want to reach out, I'm here. But I want them to know they're not alone. There's a lot of people out there, but they need to find their own confidence within themselves.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, you are who you are, and you want to be who you want to be. Don't let anyone to put you down. And I know it's difficult at times. It could have been, it could be difficult with family members that do not understand. But remember, you also have another family out there that will welcome you open arms. So um, there is, just go out there and just be, the person you want to be with confidence, and own it.
Mhm.
So it's easy to say, and I know but I think we still have a lot of work to be done. But I think it's I was, the other day when the Supreme Court uh, denied, the administration, Trump administration, to not take away, the rights of transgender. I was like, okay,
Game on.
game on.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and we're going to still have pushback, you know, there's going to still be people going to be like, no, you know, it's like, first of all, I'm going to say to those people, who are you to judge anyone
Mhm.
that want to live their life they want to live?
Mhm.
Sexuality or liking of others is no one's business than our own business.
Mhm.
And for anyone that will put that on the politics, a ballot going against, you know, sexuality of someone, or even against women, or even against, you know, whoever, that should be out. No one should be touching this, you know. And when I look at also the Constitution of America, we need to talk about it. There is over 100 laws that are still against women.
Mhm.
Okay, there's a lot of laws that still, again, there's a lot of inequality. So let's look at this, and let's that sink for a second, and maybe be the change that we want to be, and go out there. So I'm here. I'm with you.
Yeah, I love
You
this.
know,
I'm
so
so grateful we got to connect, and you got to share all of this with everybody. And my very final question, kind of on this note, is you seem to carry your dad with you. I know that your restaurant, you were saying it's not named after you, it's named after your dad. I
yeah.
love my dad, and I know anybody who's listening, if they don't have a dad here, any figure that is your dad, I think when you're sitting at home and you're feeling COVID and you're feeling, I think there's just a lot more thoughts coming up and a lot of old grief people are experiencing sitting in their homes. And as you're talking about being who you are, I think even with that comes grief of grieving who you've been in the past and releasing that.
Right.
Um, can you recommend for anyone how they can really sit with themselves and move into acceptance? Is there anything you do in particular, anyone you follow or read, or resources that you absolutely love in self-acceptance?
So I'm going to give you a little bit of disclaimer. Last year, I went through cancer.
Mm.
So it was 9 months, 8 months, and 9 months of triple negative breast cancer,
Wow.
stage 2, you know, and that helps you to differently reflex and peel the layers of yourself. I think it's very important, even pandemic or not pandemic, disease or not diseases, or we always need to take time to reflect on ourselves every day. Maybe we spend few minutes. I do a lot of meditation. So
Mhm.
meditation is good when you wake up in the morning. Just meditate. Um, there is a lot of amazing book out there. I'm going to tell you something, that this is something that I always read. I'm going to show that to you. Um, where's my book of? I'm trying to find her here. Mary Oliver, and she's a great poet, so I always read her.
Oh,
Oh,
beautiful.
I mean, I have this is one of the books that I always go. The Little Prince,
Oh, beautiful. Of
amazing
course.
book. You know, uh,
Very French.
this is a word that I'm putting. This is my friend Lucky Rapp. She's an amazing artist here in San Francisco. Everything changes. Everything changes every day. We need to be more awareness. I mean, I have a lot of different books. You know, Rumi is one of my favorite also.
Oh, beautiful poet.
Um, amazing poet. I mean, I'm a very I love James Baldwin, which is an African American poet and writers and activist. If someone wants to get into that thinking, I think is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Simone Weil was a French politician
Mm-hmm.
and also Holocaust survivor. She wrote, she had to wrote and pass the law about the woman rights, and against that you could do abortion, abortion rights. um, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are so inspiring. And then, you know what? There is Rebel Chef
Mm-hmm.
that I just
That's
wrote.
what I was about to say, Rebel Chef. You know, anybody who has just kind of popped in as we complete, we've been talking, this is Dominique Crenn, French chef, and also the only female chef with 3 Michelin stars, which we talked about with her restaurant Atelier Crenn. Her book, Rebel Chef, is out now. I just ordered my copy. I'm so excited to read it and connect with you through
Yes.
that. And just so thankful that you've been here over at SoFi with us today, and just
Thank you.
wishing you so much grace with your book and with all of your pivoting. And thanks for the conversation.
But where are you? Are you so in LA? Where are you in LA?
I'm right outside of LA, like by Studio City. Do you know Studio City?
Yeah, yeah. We have a house right there. We are.
Ah, we will
We
have to connect.
Well, I'm in San Francisco, but we have a restaurant. We have a house that we're renovating on Mulholland and Laurel Canyon.
Oh, beautiful.
And so after everything is gone, we have this amazing library that we're gonna start to do private dinner.
Oh, beautiful.
People to come and to discuss, kind of a salon library. So maybe we invite you
I
and
would love
Margaret.
it.
All right. But
Yeah, and
thank you.
of course, and
Thank
because you love Rumi, for everybody, what I will leave you with is a quote from Rumi, which is "Live life as if the universe is rigged in your favor."
That's right.
So, thank you everybody for being here.
Thank
Wishing you a
you
beautiful
so much.
day. Bye, Dominique.
Au revoir.
Bonne journée. À la prochaine
Au
fois.
revoir. À bientôt.